The insane true story of Playboi Carti.
Playboi Carti. I don't imagine a person.
Is this Aura?
What immediately comes to my mind is a tall, skinny figure silhouetted by the flashing lights of the stage behind him.
No way this is just riding in this heavy, right?
While the entire world shakes with thousands of people jumping and screaming in front of him.
Facts!
He doesn't change his appearances. He changes...
Hey, yo, bro! Give him a fat ass butt!
In front of him. He doesn't change his appearances.
That's definitely Photoshop.
He changes his shapes, either appearing as a skinny, demented rock star or a baggy, oversized beast whose face is hidden deep in the shadows of his clothes. He screams and contorts and raises the passions of the crowd into a nightmarish fever pitch of noise without ever saying a word. He conducts the symphony of chaos, presiding over a writhing pile of bodies, throwing themselves into the violence over and over again.
That is crazy when you put it like that. I'm not gonna lie, that is mad crazy when you put it like that. That sounds like hell, nigga.
Until they're dragged unconscious from the pit.
Jesus Christ.
Going to a Playboi Carti concert is risky, but people love it, and they pay to go
Facts.
over and over.
It is a great chaos.
And there are almost no other artists in the world today with the same spirit and the same fan base as him. Playboi Carti is a modern phenomenon in a world of boring, overly sanitized music. Music needs Playboi Carti. He's one of the most interesting characters.
Facts. This guy is cooking. Finally, a W YouTuber that understands real fucking music.
In the industry.
Finally.
But it seems like at this point, he doesn't need music. He's created a persona that transcends anything he could ever make or say. He's a living legend. And this is the story of...
This nigga is spitting!
What do you want? More than anything.
Let these niggas know!
Jordan Terrell Carter is one of the most unique figures in modern music. In the past 5 years, he's created a completely unique blend of trap, cloud rap, and punk rock, and eventually helping the rise of rage music at the same time. So it's no surprise that he was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, the city that gave birth to a large majority of boundary-pushing rap artists from the last 10 or 15 years.
Let's be honest.
As the years have gone,
let's be honest, chat. Lil Baby Mid now.
Further away from their sounds and imagery, to the point where if you just found out about him recently, you wouldn't know where he was from at all. And in the same way, Playboi Carti doesn't have a backstory like a lot of other artists would. He was born in September 1996 in Atlanta.
Holy shit,
his
he's ugly.
Introverted personality and quiet persona means that we just don't know too much about his early life. The first real stories about Carti are from around the time he started making music as a teenager in the early 2010s. In 2017, he talked with Vogue about how as a teenager, he was always trying new clothing styles, and one of the biggest ones that he got made fun of for was colored skinny jeans in the early 2010s. Later, in a 2020 interview with GQ, he told the story of the time he realized he needed to take music seriously after having it as a hobby since he was a kid. While working at H&M as a teenager, long before he ever released the music that would later make...
My goat knows where to shop at too, bro. My goat knows where to work at too, bro. Like, I'm seeing it, bro.
...him a star, a customer came up to him and told him that they loved his SoundCloud mixtapes while he was folding clothes in the store. And in his words, I had to quit H&M 2 or 3 days later. An experience like that could be both humbling and encouraging at the same time. For Carti, it was just what he needed to push him to fully chase his dreams of being an artist.
Real.
Shortly after the H&M
So that nigga literally only worked a 9 to 5 for 3 days.
Carti decided to move to New York City and take his music career as seriously as he possibly could. But before that, let's talk about the music that got him noticed in the first place. Around this time, Carti had put out a few different mixtapes under the name Sir Cartier, and his aesthetic at the time was pretty different than it is now. While his first mixtape, The High Chronicles, isn't publicly available on the internet anymore at all, his second mixtape, called Young Misfit, is from 2012, when he was 16, and you can find it on YouTube. I think it's honestly a...
What? Holy shit. Got posted 10 days ago. What's this motherfucker sound like?
Southside nigga, black ninja. My niggas take time off your clock with the Glock, purple killing.
This is conscious rap for sure. And that shit was trending in 2012. It makes sense, bro.
A pretty good
It
project.
makes sense,
and it shows that Carti had a ton of potential to evolve his techniques and grow as an artist.
And he was
had
16.
already figured out
He was 16 making that.
the ad-lib style that made him famous, but there are probably more lyrics on here than the rest of his projects combined. At the same time, the beat selection is pretty good, and he was a good rapper already. There are tons of pretty funny lines about living in a cemetery and getting head from zombie girls and things like that that hint at the creative path he would later go down.
Graveyard, my residence. Zombie bras, give me neck and shit. Pulled off with the top bar. Let the smoke.
Yeah, this song was f***ing terrible.
The intro
This song
track,
was terrible.
36 Villains, is a pretty catchy song, and it's probably my favorite from him.
Black ninja, my niggas take time off your clock with
You know what's crazy? You know what pissed me off the fucking most? When I would type in Carti type beats, and I swear to God, they would sound just like this song in 2017. Nigga made this in 2012, bro.
Black ninja, my
So many beats sounded like this, bro.
clock with the Glock.
Like, bro didn't even rap like that in 2017.
To
I mean, he
this
kind of
day,
did, but in
the
the whole
mixtape
it was
only
like
has
a,
68,000 views on YouTube. So if you want to hear some Playboi Carti that almost no one else has heard before, you should definitely check it out. Carti's first song that really made waves and made him a somebody was his track Broke Boy that went viral on SoundCloud in 2015, introducing to the world the abstract, high-pitched,
chat.
ad-libbed style of rapping.
Pretty
that
Boy
quickly
Fredo,
turned
my
him
nigga.
into a star.
bro boy, bro boy, bro boy.
At the same
can't
time,
even
Carti
kick it
left
with
Atlanta
you,
around
bro.
2015 to go to New York City and stay with some family to try and find more opportunities.
I wish I had a
with
family
music.
that I could
And it
stay
didn't
with.
take
New
before
York.
success
New York
started
is
coming
such a
his
good place
way.
to do
He
music.
wasn't a nobody. He already had a
is
few
Cali.
internet hits, and he started to meet and work with influential people pretty quickly. He already had a bunch of features on songs from underground artists like Lil Yachty and Lil Uzi, but the connections he found in New York would take him to a whole other level. After meeting A$AP Rocky at a party and showing him his music, it was only uphill from there. In 2016, he scored a major feature on the song Telephone Calls from the A$AP Mob Cozy Tape Volume
Fire.
1. The track featured Tyler, the Creator, A$AP Rocky, and Playboi Carti, and it ended up being far and away the most successful song from that mixtape.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Like, everybody really has a legacy. But you can tell when, like, you're at your prime and you're most hungriest, bro. I'm sure this nigga was dumb hungry.
Shortly after, A$AP Rocky signed Carti to OGG and brokered a record deal with Interscope to make him a major label artist. Up until this point, Playboi Carti had been a pretty mysterious figure. Not a lot of people knew about him, and for those who did, he wasn't exactly seen as a rising star. He didn't say a lot, and he didn't put out a lot of music, but still, he was gathering experience and social media clout that would later turn him into one of the most talked about artists in the world. Even though no one knew who he was seen in public a lot with a lot of very important people, and his name was starting to grow. 2017 was the first huge year for Carti's music. He dropped 3 singles that all did huge numbers, with Magnolia peaking at 29 on the charts, and Up Like This at 76.
Like, that's fucking insane. 2 back-to-back hits, nigga.
Industry loved him. He got onto the 2017 XXL freshman list, his self-titled mixtape.
He's almost been relevant for 10 years. If not, 2016. Bro, he's been damn near relevant for 10 years, chat.
Hit number 12 on the Billboard
insane.
charts, and he opened
And now he's hitting his prime. Now he's hitting his, like, true prime.
Gucci Mane on a national tour.
And I shoot that up. What? And I'm on the block.
He featured again on a song that would go on to become one of A$AP Mob's most
Carti's so ass, bro. This is sad. Y'all gaslight yourselves into liking it. Yo, I ain't gonna lie, my nigga. Like, at the end of the day, bro, it's good music. You have your opinion. I'm not gonna argue with a nigga that doesn't like real music. I like his music. I listen to it. It's simple as that. Niggas just be. I feel like old heads. When, like, bro, when y'all say that, I feel like y'all niggas is old heads. Like, you gotta be old as saying that.
popular tracks. And A$AP Rocky brought him along to ad-lib on a Lana Del Rey song in a huge pop hip-hop crossover that did major
This
streaming
song
numbers.
She prayed to
Oh
God,
no, not this song.
made it, but banking like my Franklin.
But a lot of people hated Playboi Carti. I don't just mean he had haters. He had an army of haters. People did not accept Playboi Carti as a rapper.
Facts.
It's almost hard to understand
Brian ass niggas that didn't like a whole lot of red, bro. I'm tired of that.
when you look back now, because he's been so influential that he now has artists who copy him, when back in the day he was completely out of left field and no one knew what to make of his sound. The reaction that most people had when Playboi Carti
Ironic,
burst onto the scene
okay.
was hatred. People said,
Playboi Carti's f***ing mid, and all of you clowns need to understand this. His music has no lyrical. Nah, bro, niggas was really that mad though. That's actually bad. Like, I wasn't even that type of person. This is like a conscious ass nigga.
does this guy have any talent at all?
I was a little Uzi fan. I was a big little Uzi fan in 2020, and I was preaching that that Eternal Take was better than Whole Lotta Red. Literally, bro, I was Uzi the up. Like, I loved every Uzi song. Then that nigga lost me.
That's the type of comment you'll find all over Carti's songs from early in his career. Because while he sounds familiar now, his sound was basically unprecedented back when he was starting out. Because Carti didn't sound at all like other rappers from Atlanta, like Young Thug and Future, who were already pushing boundaries with their abstract styles. And he really didn't sound like a classic rapper at all. Carti's sound was minimalistic. He wasn't writing long rhyme schemes with complex themes and storytelling. He was following his own vision from the start. He was ahead of his time, and naturally, there were just as many people who hated him and wanted him gone as there were fans who were looking forward to his next project. But Carti kept growing anyway, and it became clear that his style represented the evolution of music happening before our very eyes. At the same time as people complained that he was a horrible lyricist and his voice sucked, the catchiness of his ad-libs and the floating psychedelic earworm sound of his songs made him a phenomenon in the industry. Playboi Carti's self-titled mixtape dropped in the spring and he instantly became
Niggas just be
a
saying
sensation.
anything.
A reviewer for Hip Hop DX wrote that Playboi Carti's self-titled mixtape sounded like a glorified beat tape with ad-libs thrown on top. I don't think they could have been any more wrong. Playboi Carti's debut mixtape is full of beautiful instrumentals that feel carefree, familiar, upbeat,
I'm not even like finna like suck, but bro, if we're being honest, bro, Carti's sound has, bro, there's so many copycats now because of this nigga.
mellow, mostly thanks to Pierre Bourne, who produced the majority of the project. There are so many different vibes on the self-titled Playboi Carti mixtape. From the ethereal floating cloud rap instrumental of Location that rises over the song like the morning sun,
What? You gonna hop on my car?
to the glitchy chiptune sounds on New Choppa with A$AP Rocky,
I shoot like a king. All of these nuts in my jeans.
Look Up Like
yeah,
This with Lil Uzi,
yeah.
it's a very unique sounding project. It sounds psychedelic, repetitive, upbeat, spacey. I could go on forever. There aren't any
Beautiful.
bad
It's a
sounds at
masterpiece.
all. Everything feels well executed.
It's a fucking
Unless, of
masterpiece.
course, you expected Carti to start spitting bars, because
Facts.
that just isn't what he does. I
Facts.
have no clue what he was saying on most of these songs, but every time I listen to it, I walk away thinking, you know what? Carti has a great sense for catchy melodies and energetic flows, and his music is fun. The self-titled mixtape is futuristic and much more well put together than most SoundCloud projects from that time. Even today,
Bro,
it
we
still
don't need
sounds good, and it's
Grammys.
aged much better than most projects by his peers from 2016 or 2017. Thanks to the pretty huge success of singles from the mixtape like Magnolia and Woke Up Like This, Carti's mixtape was considered a great success, and it got to a point where I think the criticism really did nothing but help Carti's engagement
Facts.
and notoriety.
Any
Sure,
publicity,
a lot of people
any
were
publicity is good publicity.
writing Playboi Carti sucks all over the internet, but enough people believed in him to the point where his next project, Die Lit, debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200 just a year later. Creatively, Die Lit is pretty similar to the self-titled mixtape, with different improvements made in every area of the form.
Bro, Carti literally is the only rapper to never drop an album that sounds the fucking same as the other album.
Formula to make it bigger, more exciting, and even catchier than ever before. It was around this time that Playboi
facts,
Carti
though.
had to go to the next level if he wanted to keep being somebody. You know, I think if he had just stopped right here and quit music, his discography would be 2 pretty good albums. But it's no secret that the SoundCloud scene got old pretty quick.
Facts.
And falling off became the expected fate for artists like Carti around 2018 to 2019. And Carti himself did also have a rough period with his career during this time for a number of different reasons. It was around this time that
Carti wears women draws. Carti also sells out albums in arenas. I don't know if Lil Durk does that anymore. So fuck it. If that nigga's wearing thongs, nigga's still selling out albums. Niggas still doing that shit, bro. Like,
a lot of rap
I
careers
can't.
just fell off and died.
I can't,
The
bro.
SoundCloud movement as a whole had a punk counterculture spirit with hard-hitting
it's
music,
bad. It's
crazy
looking bad.
concerts, chaotic personas, and a big youth culture around the artists and their songs. But that nonstop energy came with 2 problems. First of all, SoundCloud rap albums were terrible. Critics hated SoundCloud rap. Carti wasn't alone in getting flack for his minimal lyrics, his horrible lyrics, and his garbled flows and delivery. It wasn't just Carti who was trying to beat the allegations of being a short-lived
And he's still
trend
getting hated.
riding the mumble rap wave.
Still, bro.
But secondly, there was a dark side to the SoundCloud scene too, full of drug abuse and violence and death. And it was right around the time Die Lit came out that SoundCloud artists were dying. And if the movement wasn't on the decline before, now it was really on its last legs. There are so many SoundCloud rappers who just faded away. After the deaths of
Alright, faded away is a crazy way to put it.
X, Juice WRLD, and Lil
With
Peep,
them on the
wasn't
screen.
enough momentum left to keep the scene going.
Facts.
The other guys like Rich the Kid, Ski Mask the Slump God, Famous Dex, Lil Skies, Lil Pump, their careers kind of ended as soon as they began. Sure, they still have fans. I'm not saying they're irrelevant, but their days in the spotlight are long gone.
Alright, but like Ski Mask, bro, Ski Mask is still relevant though. Like you can't play that nigga like that. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I don't think Ski Mask's career ended right when it started, because he actually is a good artist. But like, that's sucking. Nigga pretty much just said, bro ain't.
And I think Playboi Carti could have ended up like them if he hadn't completely reinvented himself between Die Lit
And he
Whole
did.
Lotta Red.
And he did. And that nigga did.
Not to say that it was easy. This period in Carti's career was full of artistic challenges, but it was clear that his intention was never to be a short trend, that he really cared about the longevity and the depth of his vision, even if some people considered him to be nothing more than a shallow, goofy mumble rapper. The thing is, a lot of Carti's best music was made during the time between Die Lit and Whole Lotta Red, but it never came out. And I think that's actually one of the things that made Carti's fan base even stronger than ever before during the long wait for his next
2019.
album. Carti's second album was announced just 3 months after Die Lit, but it would be another 2.5 years before it was released. During that time, he went through multiple different eras as an artist.
Bro, that nigga, like, bro, the original Whole Lotta Red, bro, sounded nothing like the actual Whole Lotta Red. It's
while
crazy.
at the same time not releasing any music at all. There are
That nigga probably had so much trial and error.
hundreds of Carti leaks. Hundreds of songs halfway finished or mostly finished or hardly finished at all. Some of which became his most popular tracks with millions of views on YouTube despite never being released publicly. The song Kid Cudi hit #1 on the Spotify US viral chart after being uploaded to a fake profile by a leaker before it was removed the next day. Almost the whole time.
In a day, an unreleased song. Like, bro, please don't ever compare this nigga to nobody. Bro, as I said before, Carti has the most popular unreleased song ever on earth. I'm standing on that. That is saying a whole lot, nigga. The most famous unreleased song ever.
Time he was working
Literally.
on Whole Lotta Red from 2018 to 2020, his music was getting leaked every month.
See how niggas
Because
can't
of
argue?
the leaks, Whole Lotta Red was remade from scratch multiple times. While most of the Carti leaks have this beautiful atmospheric ambient feel with Carti's vocals sounding more abstract and deconstructed and expressionistic than ever before, the album that actually got released sounds almost nothing like the early tracks that had been so
Facts.
popular in the first place. The Carti leaks were spacey and
He only dropped
vibey,
one of the
and they
leaks.
had a huge focus on ambience. The word floating had never applied more strongly than when you hear the beautiful samples rise over the drums at the beginning of Kid Cudi before Carti's baby voice starts jumping all over the place.
Memories.
Carti was
Nah,
on
nigga
during this
slid.
time, which there are only
Nigga
a few of,
slid.
also hinted at this new evolution. On Tyler the Creator's Igor, Carti's feature on the lead single Earthquake has 750 million streams on
Crazy.
Spotify, while also being a huge
Crazy.
shakeup from anything he had
Crazy.
ever done before, with tons of people commenting on his high-pitched, abstract baby voice. On Pain 1993 with Drake, he used the same high-pitched melodic baby voice again while floating on top of a quiet, subdued beat.
Yeah.
Around the same
Shawty
time, he
put
released
her just
the
to give-
lead for Whole Lotta Red called
I
Mad,
only wanted
which ended up
time
being
to
his
push up.
first song to chart.
Hey, nigga, at the end of the day, bro, he don't gotta say a word. Carti could whip out his slap it on the mic with a hard-ass beat, and we listening.
Top 40, and again his vocals were squeaky,
Main just
inhuman,
cause
and
Carti changed everything and started the underground wave don't mean his actual lyrics are good cause the beats carry all music in general.
Bro, just stick to... Nigga, drum guy, shut your whole ass up and make some drums, nigga.
it ended up being more polarizing than anything he had done before. The hype for Whole Lotta Red was higher than ever before. Between the beautiful spacey leaks and the crazy abstract features, people really wanted to hear that album. But when Whole Lotta Red dropped on Christmas Day in 2020,
Nigga, that sounded like the Luigi Ghost type beat.
it was a completely different project. Not a single song sounded how people expected the project to sound. It was harsh, aggressive, and dark, with a gothic fantasy aesthetic, but above all that, it felt rushed. People did not like Whole Lotta Red. If you listen to a few leaks from the early versions of Whole Lotta Red, and then you compare them to a song like Jump Out the House or Stop Breathing, it's a completely different sound.
What is this, a fan-made song? Wasn't this a fan-made song? Yeah!
For the most part, the baby voice was gone, replaced with a raspy scream. The floating, ambient, atmospheric instrumentals were replaced with extremely minimal beats with sharp, sawtooth synths and giant bass hits that sounded not like a futuristic psychedelic odyssey, but the boss fight from a retro vampire video game. It was completely unexpected, and a lot of people hated it. Whole Lotta Red was called unfinished and rough. People criticized Carti's performances for being choppy and lazy.
Isn't that crazy how you can get the whole world to change your mind on your music just from you as a person? That is actually monumental, my nigga. Nigga, I hated that album, and I love that album now. Like, I can admit that I hated that album.
It wasn't the dreamy, spacey masterpiece that people had been expecting. And the baby voice wasn't entirely gone, but most of the songs feature Carti screaming in a demonic voice over dark and gothic sounds. It wasn't what people expected, and most people hated it. But in the end, Whole Lotta Red was exactly what Carti needed to make to progress to the next level of his career.
Now he's
it
in his
didn't
prime.
take long for people to realize that what we got wasn't an unfinished mess.
Like, bro, when you're in your prime, bro, you're really mainstream. And he's really mainstream now. Bro got a Weeknd song, Travis Scott album, Metro Boomin album. Like, bro, in the same year, or in 1 year at least. Bro, I Am Music, or whatever he names this, it is going to literally break the internet, bro. And I'm not even trolling.
But an album with enough energy to turn Playboi Carti into a living legend. Despite the nonsensical content, the unfinished and rough-sounding instrumentals, and the totally unexpected creative direction, Whole Lotta Red became a phenomenon. Not overnight, because it did get tons of hate for a while, but as time passed, it became clear that it was a very special album whose impact was growing rapidly. Personally, I think I would have liked it more if it sounded like Molly or Kid Cudi, but Whole Lotta Red is a masterpiece in its own way, and it's nothing if not inventive, creative, and original.
Facts.
Let me tell a quick story. Back in October of 2019, Carti did a one-off show at this big warehouse in Brooklyn, and I remember how it felt like me and every other person in New York was pulling up that night. And it was so cold, but we were all hyped up to have the greatest time. You know, finally, after 2 or 3 hours, we're let inside and the DJ is on stage for another 2 or 3 hours before Carti comes out. Within 3 songs, he threw his mic at the wall and left. At the time, everyone was like,
what the f?
We just paid $60 for the show and all we got was a 4-hour wait
Sounds
before
like
Carti does 3 songs and leaves. That was terrible. But at the same time, no one was really that surprised. The expectations for Playboi Carti as an artist and a performer were pretty low. And then about 3 or 4 months ago, I went to Rolling Loud, New York, and Carti closed out the night with a massive set, and it was the most hyped up performance of the entire night.
You see what I'm saying? Right, he brings that rock type of energy to... He is literally one of the greatest performers when it comes to rap. Like, bro, and it's not just him on a stage, it's just the crowd control he has. Like, it is literally equivalent to a fucking rock band, nigga. It's insane.
Night. Thousands of
like
people
a metal
came
rock
just
band.
to see Carti, and I honestly felt like the parking lot was about to collapse in on itself from the pressure of everyone jumping all at the same time.
That's crazy.
By far, it was...
That's crazy. That was a 3-month difference. Damn.
One of the most energetic performances I've ever seen. Carti is jumping all over the place, covered in makeup and costumes like a monster from hell, while his guitarist creates these demonic riffs and the pyrotechnics are exploding everywhere. It was one of the best and most unique performances I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's what Whole Lotta Red was all about. Regardless of the sound or the presentation or the quality of the album, it made Carti a one-of-a-kind figure in hip-hop with a cult following that can't be replicated by anybody else. I think music has become so corporate that there aren't a lot of cult artists left. How many artists these days have names for their fan bases and people who will follow them around to different concerts because the experience is so good? So much money goes into music marketing, but sometimes I find myself asking, who really cares about all of this? Who really loves these albums that come out and get promoted on social media and then just disappear into nothingness after a month of hype online?
That is so true though. Like, nigga, how many albums do y'all hear that we forget about within weeks, bro? Like, no matter what album it is, even Travis Scott dropped a great album, Utopia. We forgot about that. And that was one of the best albums last year. Bro, like, nigga, Drake's album, perfect example. Greatest rapper. One of the best rappers that's, like, literally, like, doing his thing for, what, 20 years, nigga? He dropped a good album, but we forgot about it. We forgot about it for sure. And it's just, like, I feel like it's because music is just so pushed now. There's so much music. It's like fast food. That is a perfect example. And that's how music is right now.
Even someone as big...
But that's where, like, performing comes to play. That's literally where performing comes to play.
Things just don't last in the conversation for nearly as long as they used to. The music industry today is a very different place than it was 3, 4, or 5 years ago. When I ask myself right now what makes an album a modern classic, there just isn't an easy way to answer that question, let alone name many albums that fit the description today. Most big name artists are struggling to make albums right now. Maybe it's because all the big stars are losing their creativity by getting older and out of touch. Maybe it's because music marketing is going through big changes and old styles of marketing just don't work anymore.
Facts.
Whatever's going on, it's obvious that things are changing. Sales are down. The lifespan of a project is shorter than ever before. Look at some of the big rap albums from the last few years. You have artists like Jack Harlow getting tons of attention
about that
for
album.
making boring music. You have Kendrick Lamar waiting 5 years to
Forgot
drop
about
an
that album.
that a good number of people didn't like for its subtle production or lack of excitement. You have Post Malone dropping an album with no promotion, and it ended up being the worst selling album of
Whoa, I didn't even know he dropped an album.
career. You've got Drake dropping the most creatively bankrupt albums he's ever made back to back to back.
He did slide on them
And
albums.
Travis Scott, an artist who was once considered one of the most creative and original trap artists with albums like Rodeo and Astroworld, hasn't done much outside of product placements for the last 4 or 5 years. These projects that are coming out nowadays, these big albums that have all this label support and marketing push, if the album doesn't have something to set it apart and keep it in the conversation, it just disappears. There are so many albums in the industry that make a lot of noise, but it doesn't.
You think it's a mid-run from Drake? I don't know, dog. I don't know, bro. I think he's being very creative. I think the nigga's being very creative, bro. And that's all it takes, right? I think he's been dissecting a lot of underground artists, and like putting them on his album is definitely helping him too. And for the fact that he's been relevant for this long, he's still the top rapper alive. Yeah, bro. That nigga's been working.
Doesn't even matter because no one is passionate about the songs. I'll listen to Drake if it comes on in my daily mix. I'll sit there driving in my car, not paying any attention to what he's saying, but I'm not paying to go to his concerts. But listening to Whole Lotta Red and looking at how much passion and excitement people feel for the music, there's a movement behind it. People love it. It means something to people, and it actually brings people together in the real world. And that's a unique thing in the music industry today. If you read the comments on videos from Carti's last tour, people were saying, "This is my first concert ever. I wish I could get that feeling back. It was so transcendent and unique." Who's gonna say that about a Jack Harlow show? Who else has such a massive fan base of people who just want to hear anything he does, no matter what? Because people have that trust that whatever Carti does
Facts.
will be unexpectedly interesting. Whole Lotta Red was fascinating. There are no other projects even remotely similar to it in music today. It's true that it's a little long, and there are some terrible songs like the ones featuring Kanye, but songs like Stop Breathing, Jump Out the House, No Sleep, New Tank, Vamp Anthem, Sky, this is a true evolution of the trap sound. This isn't trap with a punk sample or two mixed in. This is a real fusion of two sounds, and it worked amazingly well. The instrumentals are full of fascinating little glitchy fantasy sounds and heavy 808s and sparkly sawtooth synths, and it just creates this overall whimsical, fun, exciting presentation that's half trap, half punk, and completely exciting. But it's not perfect,
Like
and I
greatness,
do
bro. Just greatness, bro. Ha, bro. I hope this album's good.
get why people dislike it. The album is long, there are a ton of songs, and I understand why people would say that Carti's vocals suck. I get it. But the album made a huge impact on music, more than almost anything else around, because it's just so different. There are new and interesting ideas that feel not like a vague hint at creativity, but a fully formed new sound. The dissonance, the chaos, the catchy hooks, the aesthetics. Carti knows how to do atmosphere, and if his goal was to make a trap album that sounds like a creepy vampire castle, he pulled it off perfectly. There are no other albums that sound like this.
Facts. I mean, there is now albums that sound like it. Probably a whole lot of albums that sound like it.
Whole Lotta Red is a real album in a way that many others just aren't. The vampire aesthetic, the community, and the concerts that popped up after this record came out, for those reasons alone, I think it's one of the best albums that's come out in the past 5 years. It's a huge breath of fresh air for the fact that it got people talking alone, instead of the same old overmarketed, uninteresting crap that gets put out every month by record labels all over the industry. In a time when so much music just isn't even worth talking about, let alone listening to, an album like Whole Lotta Red can be the one to break the mold. Not just sonically, but in a way that truly pushes music forward and inspires an entire generation of people to look for more in their music. The impact of Whole Lotta Red ended up being almost as big as the album itself. There are dozens of artists that are blowing up while taking major inspiration from Carti.
I ain't gonna lie. 30-minute video grind's crazy, am I right, chat? 30-minute video grind is crazy, am I right?
Ain't from New York, but my niggas be chillin'. Only couple niggas that I know who will kill for me. She said when I fuck, I get her in a feeling. Shorty is slutty when she out the Hennessy. Bitch named Clinton, knock over.